Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today in this session. So today in this session we are going to continue from task 10 of this project 0x01 C variables if else while loop. So this task here says we should write a program that prints all possible different combinations of two digits. Numbers must be separated by a comma followed by a space. The two digits must be different. 0, 1 and 1, 0 are considered the same combination of the two digits 0 and 1. So if you print 0, 1, you should not print 1, 0 because they are considered the same combination of 0 and 1. So print only the smallest combination of two digits. So in this case, 0, 1 and also 1, 0, which one is the smallest combination? The smallest combination here is 0, 1 because 0, 1 simply means 1, while 1, 0 is what? Is 10. So in this case, we are supposed to print 0, 1, not 10. In fact, let's look at the example. Did you see that 0, 1 was printed? Did you see anywhere where 1, 0 is printed? No. 1, 0 is not printed. It's supposed to be printed after 0, 9, right? So 1, 0 is not printed. So the smallest combination is printed here in this case. So, and what? Print only the smallest combination, yes. So two numbers should be printed in, the numbers should be printed in ascending order with two digits, just like the way it is here in ascending order. So you can only use putchar function, others are forbidden. You can only use putchar 5 times maximum in your code. So you are not allowed to use any variable of type char. All your code should be in the main function. So just look at this here. Just look at the output here. The two combination of numbers are printed from what? 0, 1 to what? 8, 9. So that's just what we want to do here. That's what the question is asking us to do. So let's copy the file name. Let's open the file. So vi pastes. Alright, so hash include stdio.h. So let me document Betty. So main is the function name. Let me just say main function in this case. So what's next? And then return, right? Return. I'll just say 0. So I'll close my Betty. So here I'll just say int main and then void. Alright, so when you look at this output here, we are going to write our code based on this output here. Okay, this is a complete guide. So in this case, when you look at this, we are going to use two loops. The first loop is going to loop over the first digit and the second loop is going to loop over the second digit. Right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to declare two variables for the looping. Let me call them I and j. So here I will just use a for loop. I will say for I equals to what? This is starting from 0, right? So I can say I equals to 0. So what should be the condition? I less than 10, because it says what? Different combination of two digits, right? Combination of what? Two digits. So this digit cannot exceed 10, right? They cannot exceed 10. So if they exceed 10, it means at some point they are going to be 3 digits, isn't it? So here I will just say I plus plus. So inside this for loop again, I need to create the second loop here, because for each iteration of I, j will also be iterated, right? So I'll just say for j, in this case j is starting from what? 1, right? So I can initialize j to 1, and then I will say j less than what? Less than 10 as well, then j plus plus. So this is going to loop over I and j. For each iteration of I, j will also be iterated. Okay, so the next thing we need to do here is this. The condition here says what? We are only interested in printing the smallest combination of these two digits, right? It says print only the smallest combination. And I explained the 0, 1 and 1, 0. They are all combinations of what? 0 and 1. But which one is the smallest? 0, 1. So we're expecting 0, 1 to be printed. I is responsible for iterating over the first digit, right? And j is responsible for printing over the second digit. So just look at this here. I is 0 here. And in this case, I is what? I is 1, right? In this case, j is what? J is 1, and in this case, j is 0. So I can simply set my condition now that if j is greater than what? Is greater than I, right? This is j, right? This is j. J is what? Is 1, isn't it? And I is what? I is 0 here. I'm talking about this case now. J is 1, I is 0. So I can say j greater than I, or you can say I less than j. Okay, anyhow you write it, it's going to work. So this condition is simply just to print only the smallest combination of the digits. Okay, that's just what I'm trying to do here. So the next thing I need to do here is this. Only if this condition is true that I want to print what? The values of I and j, isn't it? So here I'll just say putchar, and I'll print what? I, but I here is in what is in digit, and we know Putka cannot print digits, right? It has to convert those digits to characters, or we have to convert it to characters. So I have to add plus 0 to convert I to character, right? And then the next thing here is I need to print my G as well. So I'll just say Putka, and then I'll say G plus, also I've converted it to what? To a character. So it says we need to end this with what? A comma and a space. Sorry, we need to separate them with a comma and a space, right? And when you look at this, I don't want the comma and the space to be attached to the last digit here, right? So we need to look for ways to what? To remove the comma and the space after the last digit, isn't it? Because we are not expected to have comma and the space after the last digit, since it is the last digit, right? So I can simply set a condition for that. The last digit is what? 89, and I in this case is what? 8, and J in this case is what? Is 9, right? So I can set a condition that if I is not equals to 8, right, or J is not equals to what? Is not equals to 9. Only if this condition is true that I want to print what? The comma and the space. Do you get it? So it means that the comma and the space will not be printed when this condition is false. Do you get it? It will not be printed when this condition is false. Only when I is not equals to 8, right? Only when I is not equals to 8 or J not equals to 9, that comma and the space will be printed. So it means that we've directly targeted this last digit here, 89. So only if I is not equals to 8 and J not equals to 9, that comma and the space will be printed. So that's why it will be printed for the remaining digit excluding 89. Okay, so here I'll just say Putka, and then I'll add the comma here, and then Putka again for the space, right? So I'll just say Putka, and then I'll add a space here. That's all, right? So after the for loop, I can simply add my Putka for a new line. So Putka, and then I'll add /n. All right, so I believe this is clear, right? So let's run Betty on this code. So 100. All right, Betty is fine. So we can compile. Let's compile the program. Control C, paste. It's okay. It says, okay, non-void. I did not return my function. So here I'm supposed to return it. I forgot. So here it's supposed to be return a 0, right? So I think this is fine now. So let's compile again. So as you can see, it has been compiled. So let's run the compiled file. Did you see that we got it printed, but the comma is missing? Seems like I've not written the comma. So let's open the file again. Okay, yeah, here it's supposed to be a comma. I left a space. Here it's supposed to be a comma, not a space. Yeah, comma. All right, so let's run it again. Let's compile. All right, run the compile file. So as you can see, we got from 01 up to where? Up to 89. And as you can see, the 89 here has no comma and the space attached to it, right? So this is simply what this question is asking us to do. So in this case, I'm using my Vagrant. I don't want to add commit and push because I'm on my Vagrant, as you can see, but I'm sure the code will work. So just add commit and push to GitHub, and then you can run your checks. So let's move on to the next task. So this task here says we should write a program that prints all possible combinations of 3 digits. In this case, we are dealing with 3 digits. Numbers must be separated by comma followed by a space. The 3 digits must be different. So these are the digits. These digits are considered the same combination of the digits 0, 1, and 2. Okay, and here you are expected to print only the smallest combination. So it says print only the smallest combination of 3 digits. So when you look at this, which one is the smallest combination? 0, 1, 2 is definitely the smallest combination, because this is just like saying 12. And this is what? 120, 102, right? This is 21, 201, 210. So the smallest is this one, 12. Okay, the 0 here is just nothing. Basically, it means nothing here. So this is 12. So it is the smallest digit, right? So I'm expecting this to print what? 12. Sorry, 0, 1, 2, right? So let's see. Do we have 0, 1, 2 printed somewhere? Yeah, as you can see, it is the first digit. 021 is not printed anywhere. Just look at the code on your own. 021 is not printed anywhere. None of this is printed. Only this one. So because it is the smallest combination of 0, 1, and 2. Okay. So numbers should be printed in ascending order with 3 digits. You can only use Putka function. Every other function is forbidden. You can only use Putka 6 times maximum in your code, and you are not allowed to use any variable of type char. All your code should be in the main function. All right. So let's see how to solve this problem. Let's open the file, paste. Alright, so let me include my stdio.h. Right, so here document Betty, this is main, I'm just a main function, right? And then return, right, return 0, and then here I will just say int main void. All right, so what's the first thing we need to do? When you look at this, we are dealing with 3 digits now, right? So it means I need to create 3 loops. The first loop is going to loop over the first digit, the second loop the second digit, and the third loop the third digit, right? So let me declare 3 variables in which I'm going to use for my looping. Let me call them I, J, and also K. I think it's okay like this. So I need to now create a loop to loop over the first digit here, and it's starting from what? From 0, right? So I'll just say for I equals to 0, right? So I should be what? Less than 10, isn't it? I should be less than 10, because if at some point I or J or K is equals to 10, then there are possibilities that we might get 4 digits instead of 3. So it has to be what? It has to be less than 10. Single digit. We are only considering single digit for I, J, and K, right? That's why I said less than 10. So I plus plus, right? So the next thing is what? Inside this loop, we need to create another loop, isn't it? For what? For the second digit, right? So here I will just say for J is starting from what? In this case, it is starting from 1, right? So I'll just say 1, and what should be the condition? Same as the previous one, J less than 10, and then J plus plus, right? So the next thing we need to do here is inside this loop again, we need to create the third loop, which is going to loop over the third digit, which is 2, right? So for this one is key, right? So it's starting from what? It's starting from 2, right? The first digit is 2, right? So K 2, K also less than 10, and then what? K plus plus. So this loop is going to loop over all the digits. Do you get it? It's going to loop over all the digits, I, J, and also K. That is the first digit, the second digit, and also the third digit. So in this condition here, they said we are only interested in printing the smallest of these 2 combinations. So when you look at this, like I said, this is the smallest combination, and we've seen why it is the smallest combination. So let me zoom it a bit. I think it would be better if I zoom it. This is task 11, right? Yeah. So when you look at this, 0, 1, 2 is the smallest, isn't it? So 2 here is the last digit, and it is represented by what? By K, right? And this second digit is represented by what? G. And this first digit here is represented by what? I. So when you look at this, in all these 3 digits, K is the largest, isn't it? That's the last digit here is the largest. So K is greater than what? G. And J is also greater than what? Than I. So it means that for us to get the smallest combination of these numbers, it means that K has to be greater than J, and J has to be greater than I. Isn't it? When you look at this, J here is 0. Sorry, K here is 0, and it is what? It is less than G. So it means that this is not the smallest. Okay, this is the smallest value because K is greater than J, and also J is greater than 0. So that's how we get the smallest combination. So I need to just set a condition here. I will just say if K, right, is greater than G, isn't it? We've seen why. If K is greater than J, and also J is greater than I, isn't it? This is when we get the what? The smallest combination of this digit. So, and this is the only case that I want to print what? The numbers. So here I can simply say putka I, and then I need to convert it, isn't it? 0, isn't it? And then this case as well, I need to say putka J plus 0, right? Converted also to a character. And then the next thing is what? The next thing is K. I need to print K now. So putka and then K plus 0, converted to a character as well. Okay, so this is going to print the value of I, J, and also K only if K is greater than J and J is greater than 1. So with this condition here, our function will only print the smallest combination of these 3 digits in which we are looping over. Do you get it? So the next thing is we need to print comma and the space as it's stated from the question. It says must be separated by comma followed by a space. And when you look at this here, the last digit is not having what comma and the space. So we need to set a condition not to print what the comma and the space after the last digit. Isn't it? So I can simply set my condition here that if what? If I in this case is equals to what? What is the value of I? I is equals to 7. In the last digit, I'm targeting the last digit now. So if I is equals to 7 or J in this case is equals to what? Is equals to 8, right? So or J is equals to 8. So this is going to check for wherever I is 7 and J is 8, which is only this last digit here. Sorry, not equals to, I need to say not equals to, yeah. So this is only where we want our comma and the space printed, right? So here I can simply just say put car, and then what? I will print my comma, and then the next thing is I will call my put car again and then print my space here, right? So this is simply what I need to do. So outside the for loop here, after all the loops finish running, I need to go to a new line. So I'll just say put car, and then I'll pass in what? A backward slash. So now I need to return my function, so it's returning a 0. I think this is fine, right? So let's run Betty. So Betty 101, right? All right, so Betty is fine. So let's compile the program. Let me zoom out. So let's compile this task 11, right? So let's compile, copy and paste. All right, so as you can see, it has been compiled. So let's run the compiled file. So did you see that we got 0, 1, 2, the first digit printed, up to where? Up to 789. Did you see that? 789. And our 789 here is not having the comma and the space because of the condition we set within our code. Okay, I believe this is clear. So like I said, I'm using my Vagrant, so I'm not going to add commit and push, but I've already checked and it's working. As you can see, it has been checked already by the checker. So don't forget to add commit and push to a GitHub, and then you can run your checks. So now let's move on to the next task. So this task here says we should write a program that print all possible combination of 2-digit numbers. So the numbers should range from 0 to 99. So it's going to range from 0 to 99. The two numbers should be separated by a space. All numbers should be printed with 2 digits. 1 should be printed as 01. So the combination of numbers must be separated by comma followed by a space. So the combination of numbers should be printed in ascending order. So 00, 01 and 0100 are considered the same combination of the numbers 0 and 1. So you can only use putchar. Other functions are forbidden. You can only use putchar 8 times maximum in your code, and you're not allowed to use any variable of type char. So just look at the code here. Just look at it. So as you can see here, we have 00 and then 01. Here we have 00 and then 02, 0003. This is how it keeps going, right? Up to where? Up to 9899. Isn't it? So this is simply just 0. It's just that they said we are not going to print it as a single digit. We need to add 0 to it. So that's why we are printing it as 00. This is 1. So we are supposed to print this as 01. Do you get it? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to this. Do you get it? So what we are going to do here is, when you look at this, we are going to create two loops. The first loop is going to loop over this 2 digit, and the second loop is going to loop over this. Isn't it? And for each iteration of the first loop, the second loop is going to be incremented. Isn't it? So it means this is a nested loop, right? In fact, let's just open the file. We'll see how to solve this problem. So vi paste. So hash, let me include my stdio.h. So my main. So I'm going to call it main function, right? So what again? Return, right? So return, I will just say 0. All right, so here I will just say int main void. All right, so the first thing we need to do, like I said, we are going to need two loops, right? So I'm going to declare these variables for the looping, int I and j. So the next thing is I will now loop over the first digit. For I equals to what? I'm starting from where? From 0, right? For I equals to 0, what should be the condition? It says to 99, right? So it means less than 100. So I has to be less than 100 and then I plus plus. So now I have the loop to loop over the first digit, the first 2 digits, right? So the second digit here, the second 2 digit here, I'm going to create another loop to loop over it as well, which is this for j equals to 0, starting from 0 as well. Is it start? Yeah, it is starting from 0 as well. Then the condition has to be j less than 100 as well in this case, then j plus plus, isn't it? So this is going to loop over j now, which is the second digit. So what is the next thing we need to do? The next thing we need to do is here, just look at this case here. 0 0 0 1 and 0 1 0 0 are considered the same combination, right? And here there is a condition. They said, yeah, the combination of numbers should be printed in ascending order. It means from what? From the lowest to the largest, isn't it? And they said this is considered the same combination. So in your own case now, which one do you think we are supposed to print? Is it this one or this one? Which one is the smallest combination? Definitely this one is the smallest combination here. 0 0 0 1 is the smallest combination. So when you look at this here, I is looping over this 2 digit, j is looping over this 2 digit, isn't it? So which one here in this case is the smallest and which one here is the largest? So I is less than j in this case, right? Because I is 0 0 and j is what? Is 1. Isn't it? I is 0, j is 1. So it means I is less than j. So, and this is the smallest combination. So I'm not having any interest on this because this is considered the largest among this and this. And I'm not interested in printing the largest. I'm interested in printing the smallest. So it means for me to get the smallest combination so that I'll be able to print in ascending order, it means I has to be what? Less than j, which is this is I and this is j. I believe this is clear, right? So I can simply set a condition to print only the smallest value by setting that I has to be less than j. So I will just say I less than j here, right? So I has to be less than j. So if I is less than j, this is when I want to print what? The values of I and also the values of j. So like I said, I is iterating over what? Over this 2 digit here. But when you look at this, I'm starting from 0. This is just a single digit. I'm sure most of you will be thinking, how are we going to get the extra digit added to what? To our I and also our j, right? So let me explain this for you here. Now assuming I have 0, right? I have 0. So how do I get the first digit of 0? 0 is the same thing as 0 0, isn't it? And how can I get the first digit of 0? To get the first digit of 0, I simply need to what? Divide it by what? By 10, isn't it? This 0 0 divided by 10, I will get what? The first digit. This will give me the first digit, which is 0, right? If I want to get the last digit, I will simply use the percentage sign, which is the modulo operator. This will give me what? The remainder, which is the last digit. This is 0. Do you get it? Also, let me show you another example. If I have something like, let's say 1 and 0, for instance. So how do I get the first digit here? 1. It means that I just need to divide 10 by what? By 10. This will give me what? 1, right? And 1 is the first digit, right? So how do I get the second digit? It means I need to say 10 modulo what? Modulo 10. So this is going to divide 10 by 10 and it will display the remainder. In this case, we have no remainder, right? This is 0. So as you can see, I got the first digit and also the second digit. How do I get the first digit? Using the divisor operator, and the second digit using the what? The modulo operator. So this is what we are going to use to print the first digit and also the second digit. Okay, 1 here is the same thing as what? 0 1. So if I should print something like this, if I should say 1 here divide by 10, what am I going to get? I'm going to get what? I'm going to get 0. So this is the same thing as what? 0 1, isn't it? So that's why I'm getting 0. If I should say 1 modulo 10, what am I going to get? It's going to be 1. So I have the last digit printed, 0 1. So to get the first digit, divide by, use the divisor operator. To get the last digit, use the modulo operator. Do you get it? So that's what I'm going to do here. So here I'll just say put car, and then what? What is the first digit? How do we get the first digit? We said we used to say I divide by 10, right? And then I need to convert it to what? A character, since I'm using what? A put car. So the next thing here is also I need to print the last digit now. So I'll just say put car, and then put car, I'll just say I. In this case, I'm using what? The modulo 10, isn't it? Then I'll say plus this. So I'm converting it also to what? To a character. right? So the next thing we need to print is, after printing the 2 digit, we need to print what? A space before printing the last 2 digit, right? So I just say put car here, and then I'll just pass what? A space, right? So the next thing now is for me to print G, right? I've printed all the content of I, the first digit and the last digit. Now it's left for me to print the first digit of J and the last digit of J. So I also say put car, and then here it's going to be I divide, sorry, in this case we're using G, right? So J divided by 10, and then plus 0. So it's been converted to what? To a character for Putka to be able to print it. So the next is to print the last digit, which is to use J modulo 10, isn't it? Then plus 0. This is how we get the last digit. So after printing all these things, there is something we need to consider here. After printing this I and J, we need to print a comma and a space, right? Isn't it? We need to print a comma and a space. And when you look at this, what is the last value of I and what is the last value of J? The last value of I is 98 and the last value of J is what? Is 99. So I need to set a condition not to print comma and the space when I is 98 and J equals to 99, right? So I can simply say if I is equals to what? Is equals to 98, isn't it? Or J equals to 99. So if I equals to 98, J equals to 99, that is only when I want to print what? The comma and the space, isn't it? So here I will just say put car, and then I will pass the comma here, and then another put car for the space. So I'll just say put car, and then I'll pass a space here. So this will only print comma and the space if this condition is true. Sorry, here I need to say not equals to, okay? Not equals to. Yeah, so not equals to. So this will not print comma and the space when I is 98 and 99. So that way we will not have it printed after the last two combination. Okay, so the next thing is we need to print a new line. So put car, and then I will pass the backward slash n for the new line. So after the function returns, pass a new line. So the next thing is return a 0. Right? So that's all. So let's run Betty on this. So Betty 102, right? All right, so as you can see, Betty is fine. So let's compile and let's see the output. So paste, compiled. So let's run the compiled file. So did you see that we got this lengthy number here? It is correct. In their own case, when you look at this, it's cut at some point, right? They kind of cut the output at some point. So that's why we are getting 01 towards 9899. So when you look at this, let's go up to the beginning of the output. Let's see what is our first output. Did you see that our own is 0001, right? 0002. So it means the output is correct. So let's move on to the last output, to the last combination. As you can see, the last output is 9899. It is also correct. Okay, so like I said, I'm using my Vagrant. Don't forget to add, commit, and push to GitHub, and then you can run your checks. So this is the end of this particular project. Thank you very much. Till we meet in our next session.